So go there and visit that future self and see what that future self has created. It's you. You've already created it. So that's what I encourage people to do. When I say begin at the end, well, you learn to dream again. You got to be able to dream again, right? If you're not able to dream, then you're not able to create. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Energize Your Life After 50. Hope you're doing great out there, as I always wish for you. I'm Dr. Del Millers with personalfitness.com. Now, before I get going with what we're going to talk about today, I just want to remind you of all the free resources I have for you. If you check out the show notes, you will notice that, you can attend my free webinar. Get your sexy back. I call it that because that's what women have been telling me for years that they want. They want to get their sexy back. You want to feel sexy again, right? You want to lose weight for the last time, feel sexy again. You want to learn to master your emotions, right? Achieve emotional mastery. So those are the kind of things we work with. I've also got some free videos, free ebooks. It's all in the show notes. And most importantly, you can get on the phone with me for a free conversation. How about that? You can get on the phone for my free health strategy call. And all that is available to you. So just check out the show notes. Not to mention my books on Amazon. You can get a free copy of one of my books if you leave me a review. How about that? Leave me a rating and a review. You can get a free copy of one of my books. Anyway, you can check it out and see what's available to you. Today I want to talk to you about, something I've been hearing lately. A couple of days ago, I was on the phone with a lady from, she was somewhere back in the Midwest, I think, Ohio. And as I usually am, most days I'm on the phone talking with people on my free health strategy calls. You see, that could possibly be you. And one of the things I've been hearing lately, one of the questions I ask people is like, we talk about what's going on, what the problem is, what that they're facing, what's standing in their way, and what is their vision of that future self they're trying to create. Well, what are you trying to create? Paint me a picture of that future self that you're trying to create. And after a lot of people just can't do that. You'll be surprised at how many people say, well, I just don't know. I just can't see it. And that's not unusual. That's really not unusual. It's not unusual for people not to be able to visualize or paint a picture of the future that they want because it seems so far off to them. But anyway, working with me, that's what we do. We get to paint that picture. We get to really get very detailed about what it is that you're wanting to create. Because before you can create it, you have to be able to see it, right? So I help women dream again so that they can dream about the future they want in order to create it. And after we go through that little exercise, I usually ask them, so what's standing in your way? Why aren't you there yet? Obviously, you're not there because something is standing in your way, whether it's not having the know-how or the willingness to go there, whatever, but something is standing in your way. Otherwise, you would be there. Don't you agree? Of course. Am I right or am I right? I am right. So what's standing in your way? And, quite often I hear people say things like, well, Dr. Del, I just don't know where to begin. I'm just at a loss. I don't know where to begin. It seems like such a huge project to, lose all this weight and keep it off. A lot of women I deal with are working on losing over 50 pounds, 50 to 100 pounds, and dealing with health issues and emotional issues, a lot of emotional issues, a lot of emotional eating, a lot of emotional issues. And that's usually why people come to me because we learn to achieve emotional mastery. That is one of the primary ways that I am able to help women to get to a place where they can lose the weight and keep it off, lose the weight for the last bloody time, is by achieving emotional mastery. Okay, by learning how to work with their minds, by learning my conscious eating method. So we go through a lot of things, but that one question that I usually ask people, and so many times I get the same answer: I really don't know where to begin. I am really at a loss. So today I'm going to tell you where to begin. I want you to begin at the end. Begin at the end. So whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever you're creating, whatever you want to create, begin at the end. Stephen Covey, in his the famous book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've read that book way years and years ago, back when I was a salesman in corporate America. Yeah, that's one of my former lives. I was a salesman in corporate America. And, I read that book way back then in the 90s. And one of the 7 habits of highly effective people, it's actually one of the first or second habits, is begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. And I have never forgotten that. And I have always used that. So see, books do have an impact on people, and I hope my books have an impact on you. They're available on Amazon, so you can check them out. But yeah, begin with the end in mind. And when I work with my clients, that's where I encourage them to begin. Begin at the end. What is it that you are working on creating? What are you creating? You are a co-creator. What are you creating? Right? If you're building a house, well, you have to be able to come up with a model of that house, right? You have to be able to come up with a blueprint at the very least. You have to come up with an architectural blueprint. You got to know what you're doing. You can't just go and start digging and start putting up stuff and, building. You have to begin at the end. What is it going to look like? What is that house going to look like? How many rooms are you going to have in the house? What are they going to look like? Right? What's the facade going to look like? What's the outdoors going to look like? You've got to be able to paint a detailed picture of that house that you are building. Well, is your body any different? Is your life any different? You got to begin at the end. If you're working on your life, well, what is it that you're creating? Imagine you are on your final days of your life. You're sitting on your porch, on your rocking chair, and you're just, the end is near, and you're just going over that life well lived. Well, what does it look like? What is that life well lived? Could you do that? What is that life well lived? Well, see yourself there, and it is already done. See yourself there. You've done it. So go there and visit that future self and see what that future self has created. It's you. You've already created it. So that's what I encourage people to do. When I say begin at the end, well, you learn to dream again. You got to be able to dream again, right? If you're not able to dream, then you're not able to create, because dreaming is creating. You've got to be able to create that future self that you're after. And the only way to do that is by beginning at the end, paint a detailed picture of what that future self looks like, what that life looks like, what the life you're living. What's the lifestyle? How are you living? Who are you? Who are you being? Everything about that future you've got to be able to paint that picture. And when you're able to do that, the next step from that, the way I work with my clients, the next step from that, the way that you are able to get results and maintain those results, in my Weight Loss Made Easy program, I base the program on 3 very simple principles. Number 1, focus on why you eat, not just what you eat, and a big one. Because a lot of people, that takes you beyond diet. Diet's focused on what you eat, but realize it's not about what you eat. It's about why you eat. And most of the times we eat for reasons other than the reason we should be eating, right? Physical hunger. Most of the times we're eating for reasons other than physical hunger. So the number one is, focus on why you eat, not just what you eat. And the second thing is set up what I call non-negotiable habits and guardrails. Non-negotiable habits are the habits of your future self. And guardrails are habits you set up in order to catch yourself when you're slipping so that you don't lose 50 pounds and end up regaining that same 50 pounds the next year. Ooh, what a waste. But I've seen it happen. Okay? So that's why I teach my clients to set up guardrails to prevent that from happening. You want to get results? Well, why get results and then give it back? Why lose the results you get? Learn simple ways of maintaining the results so that you can keep going forward as opposed to sliding backwards. Okay? And the third pillar is to never do anything to lose weight that you're not willing to do for the rest of your life. You see how these all come together? Well, what you're doing to lose weight are adapting the habits of your future self. So you paint a detailed picture of that future self. Who are you becoming? Who is this person? What is that life that you're about? What are you creating? How are you living? What is the lifestyle that you're living? How are you living? How are you putting yourself in your own bloody equation? How are you focusing on taking care of yourself? On your own self-care. On the kind of life that you're living. The person you are becoming, right? Because we get who we become. If you want to create a different you, you have to first become a different you from the inside out. And that's how I work with my clients, right? We work from the inside out. We don't focus on weight loss. We don't focus on diet and exercise. We go inside and we focus on creating who you want to be, who you are becoming. And you look at, who is that person that you have become? It's already done. You've already lived that life. It's 5 years from now or your next decade, however far down the road you want to get. You've already lived that life. That future self has already been created. You've already done that successfully. Now, what are the habits, mindset, and behaviors of that future self? Well, you've got to learn to adopt those habits, mindset, and behaviors of your future self if you want to get where she is, where he is, and be able to maintain those results. Remember, don't do anything to lose weight that you're not willing to do for the rest of your life. Well, guess what you're going to be doing the rest of your life? Obviously, your future self has been doing whatever it is she or he has been doing successfully, and have been able to maintain the results, the weight loss, the creating better health, whatever the results you seek, they've been able to maintain those results over time because that's where we go. That's what that future self is. So we look at what are those habits, mindset, and behaviors that your future self created in order to be successful. And those are the habits, mindset, and behaviors that you learn to adopt in order to be successful, okay? So you begin at the end. And when you dream and you create that future self that you're becoming, you look at what it is you're creating. Get as detailed as possible. Who is this person? How does she dress? How does she walk? How does she talk? When she enters a room, it's like, how does she feel? You got to get into the feelings. You got to get deeply to the emotions of this person, right? It's not just about how you look. It's about how you feel. It's about what your life is about. What do you have then that you don't have now? Why is it important to you? Why? We spend a lot of time on why. Why is it important to you? So again, the process, you begin at the end. You create that future self, create a vision, a future vision. And then you figure out, what are the habits, mindset, and behaviors of that future self? Well, how does she eat? What does she do on a daily basis? What are those non-negotiables? She had to have some non-negotiables, otherwise she wouldn't have been successful. So what are those non-negotiables? What are those non-negotiable habits? What are those guardrails that she set up in order to prevent herself from slipping? All right? What are those guardrails she set up to prevent herself from slipping backwards? So that is the process, friends. So if you are at a loss, you're trying to work on Project U, which is a big project. You know, a lot of the women I deal with are working on losing 50, 100 pounds. It's a big project. It's a long-term project. Changing their lives around because they're used to taking care of everybody else and not themselves. I've got a podcast, an episode on how to take care of others without leaving yourself behind. Check it out. And that's what most people are used to doing. So if you are at a loss for where to begin at the end. Begin at the end, and then you focus on, well, what are those habits, mindset, and behaviors of your future self? We focus on how do we adopt those habits, mindset, and behaviors of your future self. If you want to learn more, well, hop on a call, sign up for a free health strategy call. The links are in the show notes, or you can go to my website, personalfitness.com. It's all there. But that's all I've got for you today, my friends. I hope this has been helpful in shedding some light as to how to go about getting started, where to go, what to do, and the whole process. It's a simple process. That's why I call it Weight Loss Made Easy. I make it easy. It's a simple process. Doesn't mean that there won't be obstacles. Doesn't mean that you won't fall down. Doesn't mean that you won't slide backwards. Doesn't mean any of that at all. Because it's simple and easy doesn't mean that there won't be pitfalls along the way. We're human beings. Of course there are pitfalls because our mind tend to get in the way. And secondly, we've programmed our brain for all these decades to eat a certain way, to push certain things to us. The habits we've created. So it's not an easy process to reprogram the brain, which is one of the biggest things we need to do to be successful over the long term, okay? All right, guys, like I said, that's all I've got for you today. But as usual, may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Check out the show notes for all the free resources available to you. You're not alone. You don't have to walk alone. And there are resources if you really are ready to move forward. I'm Dr. Del Millers. I'll catch you next time.